Moms and dads, listen, you're not the problem, but you are part of the solution. And this podcast is here to help you reach with your troubled child. Known as the Teen Whisperer, Jason Clopton counsels young adults and has a proven track record of reaching kids when parents can't. Listen and take notes. This show will help you figure out what's bugging your baby and build a bridge to a better relationship with your kids.
You are listening to the Teen Whisperer Jason Clopton podcast. I'm your host, Jason Clopton. Thank you so much for being with us today. If you can see, if you're watching live, hey, everybody out there, if you can see my face right now, I am smiling. I'm smiling because, yes, Juneteenth is now a federal, nationally recognized holiday. Yes, it is, y'all. So I wanted to talk about that today. You know, we've had shows in the past where we talked about leading and connecting with our children by using facts and not feelings, right? And sometimes it's hard, right? Parents, if y'all listening, I know you can relate to this a little bit, right? Sometimes we use those feelings first. If I'm feeling this type of way, I'm gonna lead with my feelings. I feel like this about that person. I feel like this about that particular topic. Oh, this subject makes me feel like that. And we lead with that when we're engaging and discussing some of these critical topics with our children. But today, y'all, we get to lead with the facts. We get to come with the facts and not the feelings. The facts are that Juneteenth is about slavery ending, right? It's about the day that Black folks were freed as slaves, okay? And what's so interesting is the facts behind that. Now, I'm going to share a couple with y'all. And I would love for y'all to share them with your children, but I also want you to do your own due diligence and work on yourselves. And we're going to go through a couple of things that you guys can utilize with your children to discuss this topic, but to also engage them a little bit. But ultimately, right, Juneteenth is about the day the slaves were freed. Now, the day the slaves were freed. Now, what I realized and learned about this is that the slaves were actually freed. The law actually got passed in 1863, but it wasn't until 1865 in June, right, that Galveston, Texas, where the last slaves who were not freed yet, right, realized and learned that, oh, we free. So, and because of that, that's where Juneteenth got its name from, right? So 2 years later, in 1865, these slaves in Galveston said, oh my goodness, we've been free for the past 2 years, but you know what, we free now. And that was the last group of slaves that had yet to be freed. And that's where Juneteenth came from. And ultimately, that was a shocker to me, right? It's like, oh, 2 years and went by and we didn't know we was free. And that's where it's like, you know, that's a good connection point for our children, right? That's a good conversation to have and have that talk and just say, you know, did you know this about Juneteenth? Because, you know, you out here, I see you with your Juneteenth shirt on and I see you going to these celebrations and tell me what you know about Juneteenth. Tell me what you've heard. Tell me what your experience has been with Juneteenth. I don't know about y'all, but in Minnesota here, we used to have this Juneteenth celebration at Theodore Worth Park. And you could get fried okra, you could get fish, you could get barbecue. We just walked the park and we used to walk up and down Penn Avenue in North Minneapolis. And oh, it was a celebration of beauty. And it wasn't just a celebration of beauty, it was a celebration of Blackness. Everyone in that space was so proud to be, and not just be Black. It was folks that were proud to be around Black folks that were coming together for something positive. So we had allies in this space. And I can tell you, I used to bring some of my white friends to the event, the Juneteenth event over in North Minneapolis. And the first thing my white buddy used to say to me, Jesse, he used to say, let's go get us some okra. Now we need some of that okra. That okra is good. Fried green tomatoes, whatever you wanted. And I want you guys to remember that, right? As we're in these uncertain times as Black folks, coming together for something positive is so important right now. And not only is it important for us, right? It's important for our society to see us coming together for something positive, for something unique, for something that is going to be and continue to be a part of the change that we want to see in our society, right? Where where our history is being acknowledged, where it's not being overlooked, where it's not being left out of the textbooks. Ask your child, how much did you learn about Juneteenth in school? How much did they teach you? Did you know that it occurred during this date in this state, right? And once we get the answers to those questions, we realize, you know what, this isn't something that's taught in school. This is something that we have to take by the reins ourselves and say that we're going to educate our children on Juneteenth and how important this holiday is to our community. And another thing I wanted you to hear about, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but Texas actually, especially in Galveston, Texas, where the name originated, they have been recognizing this holiday for the past 40 years. So 40 years of presidents not signing this into a federal and nationally recognized holiday. But it's happened now, you guys. So I want you guys to celebrate, acknowledge it, and a couple of things that I wanted to leave with you guys for your kids that you can kind of do. And I call it the 3 E's. And I think it's important to acknowledge the 3 E's. And the 3 E's don't just work in this particular space about Juneteenth, but it's a good way to help you lead with those facts and not feelings always. Again, we tend to go there easily, parents, don't we? I know I do. But the first thing I want you to do when you think about this Juneteenth celebration is educate. Educate your child. Educate yourself on what Juneteenth really is. What's the history behind it? What are the dates? What are the times? What was going on in society during this moment? How were you feeling? What were you told by your family, right? And through the generations of family history, what messages did you receive about Juneteenth, right? And how can you pass those things down? And do they align with the actual facts that are, associated with Juneteenth and as a holiday, right? So educate yourself, educate your child, educate your family, but educate, right? That's the first E. The second E is engage. After you educate yourself, well, what can we do, right? Some of the things that you could do during this Juneteenth holiday is spend money with the Black-owned business, right? Food is always a great way to celebrate this holiday in terms of culture, right? And digging into, again, some of that food I named, those fried green tomatoes, those ribs, that fried okra, that corn on a cob, with the butter and salt, and it's freshly grilled off the grill, right? All of those things, right? Some fried chicken and greens and some cornbread and macaroni, right? Engage in some food. Allow your children to cook a meal with you and tell them about the history behind this meal. Allow them to suggest a meal. Allow them to go to an event and try different foods that relate to the culture, right? Look for those opportunities to engage your child and engage yourselves, right? So that's the second E. The last E I want to leave you with is encourage. Encourage your child to use their voice. One of the reasons that Juneteenth is now a federal and nationally recognized holiday is because the voices were heard. Part of those voices were our youth. Our younger generation said to themselves, okay, 4th of July, we've been doing this our whole lives. Yep, we've been doing it. Yep, we've been doing it. Now we're going to celebrate another Independence Day that continuously has been left out of the history books, that is continuously overlooked as not being a nationally recognized holiday, has continuously not been a part of the history of this country. And this country has been built on the backs of Black folks, but where our history is not recognized as such. And it's important that we continue to use our voices so that we see changes like this continue to happen in the future. So encourage yourself to use your voice. Encourage your children to use their voice. Encourage them to do more. Encourage them to step up and step out on faith. Encourage them to be uncomfortable because they're going to try new things and do things that they're not used to. Encourage them to speak up. Encourage them not to remain silent. That's what we can do during this really critical time. Again, parents, don't forget, you are not the problem, but you are a part of the solution. Happy Juneteenth, everybody, and can't wait to see you again. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Teen Whisperer podcast with Jason Clopton, known to his clients as JC the Counselor. Check back every Tuesday for new episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts. Find out more and connect with Jason at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com.